everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. And man, do we have a wild show for you guys tonight. I have my good friend, Arkheim Ra, here in the studio. He tasked me with a pretty interesting target. You guys better hear us out, okay? I know it sounds a little crazy. It's a little wild, okay? And even by our standards, you know, something off planet, but it's really not that wild when you think about it. When you think about all the off-planet things like TRAPPIST-1 star systems and the weaponized portals, I ended up on the sun and things like that. The targets that Barry's given me, Arkheim gave me something that was kind of similar to some of the targets that Barry's given me. And it stems from some memories that he has of being in the secret space program. And when I found out what this target was, y'all, it has to do with Venus, okay? The atmosphere of Venus and a cloning facility that may have ties to Elon Musk. You guys, we're going to be connecting so many dots tonight that this just might make some sense. And I think there could be some truth behind this. This is wild. Okay, this is one of the wildest targets. And I'm super impressed. I started getting goosebumps today as I was going down the rabbit hole and digging into SpaceX, NASA, Elon Musk, cloning facilities, and Venus. All right. So you guys buckle up, y'all. Buckle up. We have some dots to connect tonight. I have some massive, important, crazy data on this. This is even going to connect to Mel's hole tonight, y'all. And so go grab the popcorn, get ready, and join us on this wild ride tonight. If you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and go through my archives of all my shows, please go to my website. That's thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find all my social media links there and anything that you might need to get in touch with me. And I do have a Patreon. All the remote viewing data for this target tonight is in my Patreon, along with pictures and the information about the show tonight and the target. Please go to Patreon and become a member. Thank you so much to all my members. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys support me on Patreon. So thank you for that. And also, I do have a shop. If you guys are interested, need to do some shopping, go to War Woman Goods on Etsy. I do appreciate it. Okay. Well, I say let's go right into this show tonight. Let's go ahead and get Arkheim pulled up here. I'm going to do an intro, give you guys a summary of exactly what we're talking about tonight. And I can't wait to talk to Arkheim. We really have not talked about this target, hardly at all. I've done some research. He has his experiences, and we're going to pull it all together in just 1 minute. Around 2022, Elon Musk's SpaceX and NASA revealed a plan to colonize Venus. Musk claimed that humanity will not survive if we don't colonize other planets like Mars and Venus. Some believe there are already human colonies on these planets, and Arkheim Ra has memories of a genetic experimentation and cloning facility in the atmosphere of Venus that was owned by Musk, while Arkheim was working in the secret space program. Arkheim Ra is a starseed who was targeted for super soldier espionage mind control programs in U.S. public schools' talented and gifted TAG program. He served at Montauk under Project Phoenix and has several alters which engaged with time travel and alternate reality programs in what he believes may have been a swap alternate reality. Arkheim's alters have also worked with Nacht Waffen, Mars Defense Force, Solar Warden, and Lunar Command, and more. Arkheim tasked me with the coordinate remote viewing target of Musk genetic experimentation and cloning facility in the atmosphere of Venus. You guys can find Arkheim on his YouTube channel. It's called Disclosure Now, with an exclamation point. Please help me welcome to the show our friend Arkheim Ra.
Hello, thanks for having me, Jessica.
Hey, Arkheim. Thank you for being here tonight. This is going to be so interesting. And you are the person who tasked me with the robot grandma target, amongst others. We were just talking about that yesterday on my 2024 recap show that we did, and that was the first remote viewing target I did, I think, for 2024, and that was fantastic, along with jump rooms to Venus, jump rooms to Mars.
Another Venus one we're doing here.
Yeah, I think we confirmed there probably are jump rooms to Venus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me, okay, we're going to be covering something tonight that has to do with Venus. Okay, and I did a lot of research on Venus today, and the probability of humans living on Venus are pretty slim, but I found out that humans can live above Venus in the atmosphere, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit tonight. But you had spent time, a lot of years, doing working in the secret space program. Tell me about this target tonight, how you came up with this target, what you remember about it, and any kind of information you'd like to tell the audience tonight.
Sure. So I guess the best way that I can put it is these black budget operations more or less have the ability to upload your consciousness to a computer chip type thing, and then they can put it in any body, well, not anybody, but a number of different kinds of bodies. And basically, with my experience with the whole Musk thing, I have memories of it's kind of hard for me to talk about, and I'm gonna do a little self-censorship here to not go too dark of territories, but if people want to look into the Mothers of Darkness castle located in Belgium, I saw both him and his mother there. Actually, it's funny that you have her in the photo. There was a hunting party there of a child, and there was I just want to just say it as quickly and non-graphically as possible. Basically, there was cannibalism out in the open, and very dark memories. And the thing about it that makes me think it's real is I found out about the Mothers of Darkness castle after, and I've talked about how there was a castle in Belgium that I remember being at, and it turns out, yeah, there's an actual name for it. You can look it up. Hold on, I'll do it for people just a second, because if you look it up at Darkness, hold on one second. It's the Chateau des Amours. Anyway, there's a whole documentary on it that is about all the ritual abuse, and actually there's hunting stands there. They found hunting stands there. So this is stuff I found out after my memories, and that's a little more surface level, and I already got confirmation of that. So, and it's so dark, I wouldn't want to give you that as a remote viewing target without especially without maybe giving you a heads up and like, hey, this is a really dark one, telling you what it has to do with. Maybe then I would do it, but I would definitely give you like full disclosure on that one, and that I'd rather just not go into, obviously, because it's just dark. But even the cloning facility, to be honest with you, pretty dark stuff, to be honest with you. I remember the first memory I got back is like I would wake up there on the hook in my back, and Elon himself would sometimes be looking up at me, and he was really entertained by it, and he'd be like, "Welcome back." And wow, that was my cat. She's messing around with stuff. Sorry about that. But anyway, it was kind of a disturbing memory that I got back, and that was the first one. And the details of it more so are like I said, so my consciousness is on file, and so they're able to put it in different bodies. And this is where I believe, I know this is going to sound really wild, but, you know, I did have you remote view it for a reason, is because I wanted to confirm it. I wanted to show that there really is some truth to this stuff. I'm not lying to people, you know. But basically, like, so people have this idea of like sexualized cat girls even on Earth, and that's actually a real thing in the breakaway, and it's a common thing at brothels that have out in the open genetic engineering involved in what they're doing. And Elon Musk even made a joke about it on his Twitter account about cat girls being able to like talking about something about like Oculus comes in many forms and tweeting a cat girl. And so he even kind of made an inside joke about it that I couldn't believe he made about it. And so I have memories of that. And a lot of times it was sexual slavery, but also there would be instances where, like, I remember like an ET family just having me as their pet. They had a terrarium on the ship that they owned, and I was literally just a pet, and there were other animals and other cat people and stuff. Super weird, but like just like the same way you would have pets. That was what it was like, and he gave me to his son as a present, and that was the whole lifetime I lived. So that's the thing that I want people to understand about my testimony is like my consciousness is part of a black market where they've used me over and over again in really, really horrendous ways, and I want to make it perfectly clear that from everything that I've witnessed, the Musk family is connected to Venus heavily. I think that they really were part of colonizing it, and to the point where people consider them from there. And I think that this family is involved in this very dark trade of consciousness, of genetic experimentation and engineering. And part of the reason why they did it on Venus, it's like you talked about, it's not exactly a hospitable place to live, but what it's known for in the breakaway colonies and like in the solar system for people who are out there and know about life and it's not hidden from them is basically it's kind of like a Las Vegas of space where like people are able to get away with more and do more stuff, and the laws there are more relaxed, and there's gambling and there's brothels and there's things like that. And because of that, there's a kind of seedy underbelly, crime world kind of aspect to the space stations that are there as well. So that's what I can remember about it, and I wanted to target you with this to learn more about it and kind of verify its existence, and also maybe see what reality it's in, because I know that in the past you've been able to pick up on other stuff has to do with alternate realities and stuff. So that's another thing that I'm curious about too.
Wow. Wow. You know, I was thinking today, there's been several people who have been in the public eye who, I mean, through declassified FBI documents or CIA documents, I'm not going to say that the government was admitting that they're from Venus, like Nikola Tesla, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in these documents, it's actually a letter that someone sent to the FBI or the CIA about Nikola Tesla being a Venusian, I think is how you say it. But nonetheless, there's documentation that has been declassified that does link him to being from Venus. Also, there were other, they had people that were seen at the White House that were supposed to be Venusians as well. And the Musk family, I've heard that Elon Musk is from Venus as well.
I think he's pretty much openly admitted that his family is vampires from another planet.
Oh, gosh.
Rituals I mean, they're vampiric. They're very dark. They're like blood rituals and stuff. So like I said, I don't want to get into it too much because it is dark and I don't like to bring it to that place. But I want people to understand this. Like, I understand the things that people admire about Elon Musk, like the non-censorship of Twitter and stuff like that, and valuing people who value freedom of speech like that and stuff like that. And I am just letting people know what I've seen, and that's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to steer anyone any certain way or make them feel any certain way, because at the end of the day, he might have been altered or whatever, and it might be an alter of him. You know what I mean? That's something that I very much so understand. Mm-hmm. I understand a lot of these tech guys that have a lot of money are actually connected to MK Ultra programs and are actually connected to some pretty nefarious things, like, and there's people who are starting to talk about it and find evidence for it. So it's just something that I'm pointing out, because I think it helps to kind of talk about current events, and it is a current event. But I also want to be clear that this is mostly just for entertainment purposes only, and I don't want to steer anybody any certain way. You know what I mean?
Yes, we're not accusing anybody of anything tonight. We're just, Arkheim has memories. Okay, he has memories. And Arkheim has been part of the secret space programs, including the Montauk project and Project Phoenix as well. Different projects. Okay, and so it has a lot to do. A lot of it has to do with even MK Ultra mind control and stuff. And you do have altars for the audience members who are not familiar with this, because there may be people who aren't familiar with the secret space program and your altars. Can you kind of explain that just briefly?
Okay, so basically with MK Ultra programs, and this also strangely enough is connected to like very high level Illuminati families do this to their own children as well. That's something that not as many people talk about. It's talked about, but it's kind of skipped over a lot. As they do it, they kidnap people like me. I got kidnapped and brought into these programs, and I got split into alternate personalities and stuff like that through trauma-based mind control, torture, and things like that. And what I was getting at earlier when I was talking about Elon is, first of all, we're going to find out, we're going to dive into whether this was in an alternate reality or not. That's an aspect that we should look at. And also, even if it wasn't this reality, who's to say that Elon is aware of that? I want to be clear that in programs, I've done dark things. I've done things I'm not proud of. I would say things that are blatantly just flat out evil. I'll admit to that. And so the memories that I have don't necessarily reflect on him as a person right now and who he is now. But I also, in the same breath, that's not to say that these memories don't matter and that they hold zero weight and don't matter at all. They should be taken seriously, I think. So I just, it's like people like I often say this when you always got to take things with a grain of salt, use discernment. People can look into stuff on their own, you know what I mean? And we can talk about some surface level 3D stuff that isn't just from my memories too, that aligns with some of this stuff, which you were mentioning both your data and just some of the research you did on your own time was aligning with some of the stuff I was saying.
Well, it was. And I did send you a video because I started looking up the connection that Elon Musk has to NASA and to Venus and to Mars. And a video popped up, and I actually put it in the chat here on the channel. I'll put it in the chat again. I think I have it right here. I'll go ahead and put it back in here again. There's a section towards the end of the video. It's only like a 13-minute video, but it's on YouTube, and it has
to me, I just made a connection. I'm sorry that I never made.
Yeah. What's that?
He's like the modern day Jack Parsons. Do you know who Jack Parsons is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever heard he shot up rockets into space for NASA?
Yep.
He worked with NASA. It's kind of like, okay, they're probably very different in many ways, but maybe there's a connection. I don't know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just thought of that for the first time. Jack Parsons, which people should look into him. He was part of NASA, and he was basically like this crazy Satanist guy, Jack Parsons. So NASA's weird, and I would say pretty much everybody in the chat is going to agree. There's some weird stuff going on with NASA. See, the fact that he wore that image and the way his mom dressed and stuff like that, that's why it's harder for me to give him a pass, like some people suggest I maybe should, which I understand. I do try to be forgiving and understanding of people in these programs, because what's like that image to me, Baphomet, I know what that image means to people on the inside. They sacrifice children to the image of Baphomet. So for me, a lot of people oh, how funny, he's mocking them. It's that'd be like dressing up like Jimmy Savile for Halloween.
Oh God!
The joke wouldn't land. The joke doesn't land to me. You know what I mean? That joke doesn't land for me. So I don't know. I've always thought that was interesting. And you can find images of his mom and some magazine that looks super dark and super satanic. And it's these people use this imagery and stuff like that and do these things on purpose. They're not doing it not on purpose. So I think that's another thing to think about too. And again, everybody has their own discernment to use here, and make up your own mind. But these are just my opinions on the matter. That's all, from the things that I've seen and witnessed and experienced, the memories I have, but also just, like I said, those images, to me, that paints a picture,
Mm-hmm. It does, and I was pulling a couple of these pictures up because I was going to make the connection here. This actually is Elon Musk at the making an agreement with NASA to start. I guess they came to terms for him to use SpaceX to take astronauts into space. Okay, with NASA. This was back in 2019. I believe is when I was that article was published and this picture was put out. But those are some astronauts right there. Somebody, an administrator at NASA. That's when he agreed to start sending astronauts up. Okay, but also I did put that link in the live chat tonight to this video on YouTube. It's about SpaceX and NASA working together. This was from 2 years ago. So that picture I showed where they agreed to start sending astronauts from NASA up using SpaceX. Well, that was in 2019 and 2022. This video was published on YouTube, and it's SpaceX and NASA. This is working on colonizing Venus and Mars. Okay, this whole video is about them doing it and how the plan has been in place for a while. They've been working on this for a long time, Arkheim. And they have been working on it. The video actually has a section on just Venus alone, how they're planning on doing it, how they've already been working on it. And something that I found that really caught my attention was, you told me a long time ago that you have memories of being on airships. And you said there's some kind of hidden history with airships in the United States. I don't know if you knew exactly where you had been on airships before, but
basically, there's an alternate reality to explain it. We're in this reality as well, but basically, the Hindenburg incident. So that was a German Nazi airship that came here on a tour, and it blew up. And after that event, people were really afraid of airships, and there's no airships in our timeline. But that was a timeline altering event. Okay. And there's another timeline that's really close to ours and connected to ours in a lot of ways, where there are airships. They use airships for travel, and it's a whole thing where it's like when you get on an airship, it's like a floating hotel a lot of the times in a way. So it's like a place in the sky on the way to wherever you're going to. They made a lot of money on them. They're a great business model, and they work well for travel. That was a lot more comfortable than traveling by airplane. And also with the anti-gravity, once you don't need to fill them with air, they're a lot more useful. Like once you use different technology than air, because airships, they have to fill them with helium or whatever. But the really advanced ones, they just look like that. They look like the airships, but they're actually using anti-grav technology. So just something to point out.
Yeah, this is actually a Lockheed Martin. So the Lockheed Martin hybrid airship. Okay, so and this is recent. This is current. This is not anything from the 1940s. Okay, and this is from Raytheon right here. This is a Raytheon airship as well, and these things actually hold nitrogen and oxygen. I mean, it's just like these old, the old Goodyear blimp that we see. We're told it's only been these Goodyear blimps and the Hindenburg that exploded. Nothing to see here. We didn't use airships that much, even though I think that we did back in the day. But they're actually they're talking about utilizing airships at Venus, okay, above Venus. Now, we're going to get into that in just a minute, okay, because I want to go over the target. Okay, I want to go over the target. I want you to talk about what the target is. And then I want to go over the data, and then we're going to break it all down. Okay. But first, I want to thank Kent Baxter for that amazing super sticker. That's so sweet of you. He says, let's start this year off with a bang. Thank you. Not like the Hindenburg, right? Just kidding. Thank you, Kent. Thank you for your support. I appreciate you very much. Okay, so let's get into the target, exactly what it is. Because let me read it word for word here. Okay, the target that you gave me was, it says Musk genetic experimentation and cloning facility in the atmosphere of Venus. Right. Okay, so let's go there. What do you remember about that?
Well, like I said earlier, I remember waking up on like basically with a meat hook in my back, and him like be looking up at me and being very entertained by it. Pretty sure I did something to upset him. Um, basically, people could come there, look around like a zoo, basically, but like actually buy whatever. And this family was just involved in like trading life, because of basically life, like sentient life. And it wasn't like a one-off thing where like I lived one life. Like he had my consciousness somehow, like the file, and he was using me over and over again for different stuff. And he was doing it to make an example of me, which is something that's happened to me more than once. Marduk did the same thing to me, he's a character from ancient history. I'm a time traveler, people. I know it sounds crazy, but he did the same thing to me. He'd always try to make an example of me. And I know with the Montauk project, or no, it wasn't. It was Project Looking Glass, which, according to John Whitberg, who I talked with this about, so it seems like Montauk is very similar, but it wasn't. But basically, I guess according to John, my memories aren't as clear as his, but according to him, at some point we were tasked to keeping an eye on him and trying to gather intel on him, like dirt, basically. But he thought we were just like his servants or like something like that. And that's how I got involved in his life. And I'm fairly certain that he found out that we were snitches, more or less, double agents or whatever. And when he found that out, that's how I ended up in the situation where he was abusing my consciousness and using it over and over again. And so, um, for me, what I remember is he had like godlike power that made him go a little bit crazy. That's what it seemed like to me. Like he reminded me of an evil villain. Like that's what he reminded me of. Like, cause I remember him literally like laughing. Like I'd wake up on the meat hook, and he'd be laughing at me like an evil villain. Like seriously. And so when I hear, and I understand some of it, but like I just, for me, like when I don't, I just, it makes it hard for me to like be excited about what this guy's got going on right now, like some people are. I don't know. I'm kind of more so on the worried side, but also, I'm hopeful for the future. I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy either. Oh, I think your microphone went out. I can't hear you.
Oh yeah, sorry. My son had to blow his nose, so I hit the mute button. Sorry, y'all. Yes. So we're about to make some interesting connections, Arkeem. Okay, we're going to make some really interesting connections tonight. That's you remember being in his cloning facility, correct? So that
Yes.
was in the facility, and so. And do you think that cloning facility could have been in an airship or some sort? It was in some sort of a craft, right? It wasn't like landlocked.
It felt like a factory. That's what it felt, but it could have been an airship. I mean, they can be very big. Like I think some of these airships had gymnasiums and stuff in them, right?
Yeah.
So if they can fit a gymnasium, I can imagine. You can only imagine what else you can fit in there, right? All sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Well, okay. This is interesting. That video that I put up in the chat tonight, it says NASA is working, this is quoted from this video. NASA is working on high altitude Venus operational concepts, or a concept. It says there's an airship that's around 432 feet long, 112 feet high, I believe. It says NASA is, it says that they're using a mix of nitrogen and oxygen to inflate this airship so that it actually is lighter than the dense atmosphere of Venus. Okay, they're planning on putting these in the atmosphere of Venus. Okay, because at an altitude like Venus is not, let me show pictures of Venus here. Let's talk about Venus before we get into this data. Okay, this is Venus. This is the Venus that we all know from our school books. Okay, here's some other pictures. This is what Venus looks like. Here's some diagrams of Venus to give you some information about what it looks like. It's almost the same size as Earth. It's a little bit smaller than Earth. Let's see. I've got a comparison right here. It's just slightly smaller than Earth. And if you're wondering where it sits in the solar system, it's closer to the sun than the Earth. Okay, just a little bit closer to the sun. They say it's kind of like the atmosphere is like a living hell. Okay, it's like a living hell for humans, is what they say. The gravity is similar to Earth, very similar, but there's lots of carbon dioxide and oxygen that oxygen can be extracted from, is what I meant to say. They have a very dense atmosphere, and which could shelter people from radiation. Okay, apparently you could get a little radiation there, but the atmosphere is really dense. But there's so much carbon dioxide that it creates an extreme greenhouse effect. It raises the temperature is way too high for us to ever to be able to live there on Venus. Let me pull this back up. We could never live there. It actually says, okay, this is in Celsius. I don't know what the different, I don't know how to convert this into Fahrenheit, but 475 degrees Celsius. The atmospheric pressure is like being like miles, like hundreds of miles below, like maybe like almost 1,000 miles below the ocean. Okay, like it'd be too much pressure for our human bodies to be able to live there, is what they say. You'd basically get smushed like a bug if you got into the atmosphere unprotected. The upper atmosphere has acid rain, and they say that the wind blows so hard, everything gets blown away. So you can't build anything, everything will get blown away. But at an altitude up in the air, it says 50 kilometers, there is a region that has gravity just like Earth, and the pressure is just fine. We would not get smushed like bugs. And the temperature is around 85 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And they are planning, NASA and SpaceX have been working on a plan to build floating habitats behind the clouds in this atmosphere. That is so wild. I wasn't expecting to find a video and information on this. And the video is in the chat right now. If you guys want to watch it, they have already put this plan in place. That means if they're telling the public about it, that probably means they've already had it, Arkheim, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, from what I've experienced, like we're already out there. Like we've already colonized this entire solar system. So yeah, it's old hat. It's already happened.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Our friend Jock Doubleday is in the chat tonight. Hey Jock. He says, Jock says, academia hasn't told us one true thing about Venus. It's an Earth-like planet, beautiful with inhabitants that look exactly like us, but with larger craniums and far higher intelligence.
That wouldn't surprise me at all, because I have some memories of like cave-like places and stuff like that, and it wouldn't line up with being in the atmosphere. But this particular thing, I think, was in some sort of facility that very likely was in the atmosphere. So who knows? But like, yeah, I've heard a lot of stories from a lot of people about Venus being a vibrant place full of life with a lot of different stuff going on. The memories that I have of Venus are of the space stations maybe that are circling it and stuff, which is a thing. Mm-hmm. So those are the ones that I'm talking about right now. And yeah, I even also have a memory of like finding an abandoned Venusian space station or of some sort that had a Venusian robot on it that we woke up and ended up naming. We let him work for us and work his dead off because we had to fix him to turn him on. And he wanted to change his name, and he changed his name to Elron, after L. Ron Hubbard, which is kind of weird. The author and the guy who made Scientology. I can't remember why I did that. Maybe he just liked the books. I don't know. But yeah. I've got memories of Venus. They're just kind of a little bit fragmented. So what Jock has to say, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, I mean, I often wonder about that too, because I've done so many different blind targets that Barry's given me, including there's like these dwarf planets that I had remote viewed, like Make or Maki. I don't even know how you pronounce it. Chimea or something like that. Like there were 3 different dwarf planets that I had remote viewed, and they all had life on them, like humans. I mean, also TRAPPIST-1 star system. There was a particular planet that he had me, or I guess it was, yeah, he had me remote view TRAPPIST-1, and I thought that I was, I thought that I was actually remote viewing Earth in the future, because there were buildings, there were highways and high-rise, mid-rise apartments and high-rise buildings and shopping centers and everything.
Yeah, that's see your remote viewing data is proving exactly what I'm saying, which is basically there are human colonies all over the place. This is nothing new. We just haven't gotten adjusted to it and caught up to it yet.
Yeah. Well, you know, we may look like we're crazy talking about this stuff, and that's okay. Well, I don't care. Okay, I don't care. It's just the dots are connecting too much these days. Okay, the dots are all. I've done enough of these targets where the things are connecting, and I'm connecting with the right people who have information on this as well, like yourself now. And so I think it's important that we do talk about this stuff, no matter how crazy people may think we are. I don't care. Okay, because I think there's something to it. I think there's something to it.
The reason why I give it to you as a blind target, it's basically if you trust remote viewing, then
yeah,
you can trust the information that we're presenting here, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you. Exactly. And these are blind targets. Okay. Let me get into the data then. Okay. Because we've kind of gone over Venus. All right. We've established that we've been told that we're not able to inhabit the actual planet, but they can stick airships over the planet in this particular part of the atmosphere and live comfortably. Off-planet civilizations of humans. Okay. Elon Musk and NASA have been actively working on this. And there is documentation of it, y'all. And also Mars, not only Venus, but Mars. And Arkheim has given, we have a show, you guys, where Arkheim did give me targets, blind remote viewing targets of jump rooms to Venus and jump rooms to Mars. A jump room to each in Los Angeles, in California. Okay. And we established that we do believe those exist.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask you, Arkheim, is that how people get to these planets, or are they taking spaceships?
I would say that no, they usually are just kidding. Why would you do all that when you can just
I know, right?
I mean, there might be cases where maybe you need to bring a physical thing there that's really big and you don't have a portal that's big enough or something like that. There might be situations where you just physically go there in some sort of craft, but other than that, it sort of doesn't make sense. You might as well just use a portal. That would make a lot more sense. Mm-hmm. And that's what I remember too. I've personally experienced it. Like I've literally personally experienced it was the Swiss Hotel in Chicago. I stayed there. It was around Valentine's Day, not last year, but the year before that. And I got taken. A bellhop lady came in my room, played these tones on these speakers, made me go into an altered state, become an alter, and become agreeable. I went with her. They had a clone body of mine waiting. It was on the other bed. Like they unwrapped it and made me lie on the other bed, put my consciousness in this clone. Then I get up, a mirror there turns into a portal. I'm in this kitchenette on an airship. And the lady has all this paperwork for me to sign and stuff like that. And I look outside and there's airships everywhere. They're all over the place. I'm like, what's the deal with the airships everywhere? And she's like, that's where the rich people, like to live in the sky because the surface is really unagreeable. And I was on Marduk. This wasn't Jupiter. This was Marduk. So this is a planet that does not exist anymore. People say it's the asteroid belt now. So this is a planet that doesn't exist anymore. And she told me I was in an alternate timeline where it still existed. And I worked for, not this is really relevant, but King Alexander and Paramanov, which both Journey to Truth and who else? Rob, Typical Skeptic, interviewed this lady, Mary Beaver, who talks about Alexander and Paramanov in the Here and Now. Super shady, weird guy that's involved in the secret space programs. I've actually personally met him.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, a lot of info.
No, that's great. Well, I was, I think I was just curious. There's a lot of questions in the chat tonight, and you guys, I see all the questions. I'm putting stars on them, and we'll go back towards the end because I don't want to break up the flow of information right now between
Yeah,
our
that's
Q and
hard
I.
to understand that. Like,
Yeah. So
you want to adjust the guests, but also like the information has to flow a certain way. You don't want to confuse. Either.
does well I have a tendency to get sidetracked easily. I'm like
Me
a
too.
dog seeing a squirrel. Okay. So
Yeah.
I want to kind of keep it flowing, but I do see your comments. So and the questions. So I'm putting stars on the ones that I see. Okay, and they're all really great, but they have a lot to do with what we're talking about. But we're gonna keep it flowing. Okay, so you guys keep the questions coming. I'm gonna go back and try to hit them all up when we get done getting all the information out today. Okay, and yeah, it's we're not always told the truth about everything, y'all. And
Also, another comment to Ken, what are you saying right now?
then,
I remember being in school, and maybe this just doesn't mean anything, but maybe it does. I think it's worth mentioning. I remember like reading a book about the planets, and in this book, and people could say, well, it was outdated, and that's the reason why, and maybe it was, but it's kind of funny. They still had it like in the section where like you could grab it books and read them, and it talked about Venus being habitable. Basically, it said it was like a tropical planet and had an agreeable environment and agreeable temperature and stuff like that. So like that's what. So it's like maybe they're covering that up now. Maybe that is true from what I've learned, because like I know for a fact like maybe Venus is like they say crazy and uninhabitable, or maybe Jock Doubleday is right and it's really habitable or whatever. I don't know for sure because my memories of it aren't super clear. But Mars is habitable. They're totally lined. You can breathe. I literally remember that. Like you can breathe the atmosphere. So who's to say? Why would they tell us the truth about Venus? You know what I mean? Like who's to say that you can't just go down there and walk around? You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not a scientist or whatever, but all I know is what mainstream science tells us about a lot of things is frankly a blatant lie, because mainstream science it's not that it's always wrong, it's that science is malleable, it changes all the time, and it hasn't caught up with a lot of this information yet. It's not that science can't prove it, it can, but you need the right tools to measure it. Like for instance, like radiation, right? Like you could always see the effects of radiation when it was around. People would get sick, like all this weird stuff would happen, but they didn't understand it. Now we have an actual thing to measure it. Okay, now science understands it. Now it's not magic. It's something science can understand. You know what I mean? It's surface level. It's the same thing with what we're talking about with all this time travel and factories on Venus and with that clone people and genetic engineering and all that stuff. It might seem really crazy and like beyond what we have now for science, but science is slow sometimes. It needs to catch up with itself sometimes. Our current comprehension of science, yeah, maybe that can't explain this stuff. But there are people out there who are scientists who are involved in these projects, like for instance the genetic experimentation, all that stuff. And I can't sit down and explain to you how this all works step by step, but those guys could. They could, because it's real. I'm really trying to tell people. And another like 3D surface level thing about human cloning, that seems really far out. Like, what are you talking about? How many years ago was it that Clone Aid went on TV and was like, we cloned someone, we come to us if you want a clone.
yeah.
Like you can literally, they have a website. You can message them. You can ask them for a clone. I'm like waiting for a guy to do a YouTube video on it and like expose them or something. Like,
Yeah.
who knows if the number actually goes through anymore? I'm not sure. It might be totally bunk. But there was a time where like they were like openly advertising, hey, we can clone you, like that on national television. So it's like to suggest that it's totally impossible and that it just couldn't happen. You can't do that. Like you can be questioning of it and be like, I don't know, it's kind of far out. That's reasonable. But to flat out say it's not possible, that's not reasonable to me.
Mm-mm. Okay, we've talked about Kid Boo, that rapper, hip hop artist, who claimed that he was model number 67C9342 or something. He was like, shout out to Clone, and he never blinked. I mean, he probably literally didn't blink. I don't know. I meant that figuratively.
Did the debate with Trump, we just like didn't blink. He didn't blink at all. Yeah, so it's like it might be a sign. I don't know. Like they don't blink. I don't know what's going on with that.
There's they're very much out in the open. There's commercials for bodies. They call them body sleeves, I think is what they are. It's human flesh. that you can.
Yes,
They've already made it. It's like in plastic packaging. It looks like
I've,
meat you get at the deli.
I've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
I have literally seen that more than once in multiple different occasions. With the cat girls, I remember literally seeing like they would transport them in chairs upright, but they're like in the contain like a plastic like container like sleeve thing. I also remember like an alternate future of Earth where I was bringing these sleeves to a elite ritual where they kill their old bodies and take on their new bodies. Like so that is 100% a real thing. We're like, in another thing too. You know the song "Forever Young," "Forever Young." That song is used as an advertisement on breakaway colonies because on breakaway colonies, there's for reasons they want you to live a natural life and die a natural death and stuff like that. But it's known that if you go out in the breakaway, as long as you're working for the military and stuff like that, they'll keep you going. And the idea is you can go out in the breakaway and live forever. But it turns into some stuff like a lot of they use it for a lot of nefarious things. Like for instance, like let's say you're in a breakaway planet. This is a real situation that actually happens. I'm giving you an example of. You're on a breakaway planet and money's really tight. And you guys are struggling with the bills and stuff like that. You've been seeing these commercials. 20 years and 2 days. You come back with all this money and da 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 da. And it's one of those things where it sounds like it's too good to be true because it is. Like, yeah, you come back with all this money, but they work you to the bone for the 10, 25, whatever chunk of time you choose. They work you to the bone, and then you come back with that money, and it's always gone fast. Like, it's always, you know what I mean? Like, and then people are out doing it again, and it's basically a way where they extract labor out of people that's like, it's scary how far it goes. Like, these time corporations that have the access to cloning and all this stuff, because, they'll tell you, like, there's literal advertisements where, like, 20 years and 2 days, 3 days, or whatever. Your family won't even get the chance to miss you, but you'll miss them. But think about how happy they will be when you come back with all the money. And it, like, shows the kids, Daddy! You know what I mean? Like, literal commercials. Like, I'm telling you, the song, Forever Young, they use it in these commercials to join the military. There's a whole... when this technology gets entered into humanity, there's a paradigm shift. Like a huge, it's just everything changes. And of course, all of the powers that be, you can say it's nefarious, you can say it's not, it's actually arguable. They don't know how to approach that paradigm. Does it make them evil or good or bad? I don't know. But think about it. They just don't know how to approach that paradigm. Like, all of a sudden people are able to live forever. Like, how the fuck does the public, like, grapple with that information? You know what I mean? And not only that, how are they going to grapple with, yeah, you can live forever, but it costs X amount of money, so only you need to basically be wealthy to be able to access that people would freak out over that too. So it's like it causes all these things that theoretically to people they cause. It's like, oh, why don't they just tell everybody about it? It would solve everything. It's like, no, it actually cause a lot of problems if they're to just tell all this information overnight. And that's like, I think, a big problem in the intelligence community right now. And I want people to understand that about the intelligence community is yes, there are a lot of bad guys in the military and the intelligence community, but there are good guys. They call them the white hats, and they are through their tongue. They're through their teeth right now. They want to tell you so bad. They want to tell you, but they can't. They can't. Like, so there's a struggle going on right now, and it's people are always talking about it. We're just like, come on, just do it, guys. Just tell us. Like, so, but it's probably going to be drip, drip, drip because it takes a lot for it's like it's one thing to be like, hey, there might be life. But aliens on craft. The government actually has that, admitting that. That's one thing. So you can live through cloning, and there's a cloning center on Venus and all this stuff. Like, that's a lot for the public to take in. You know what I mean? There's a reason why. It's like you said. Like, I know this sounds silly. Well, let's just say overnight, all of a sudden, the big cats, the people that people trust, go on TV and say this is all real. How do you think the people that think this stuff is straight? They'd be like, "Yeah, I need to call on to work for a week." You know what I mean? Like they would need time to process it. You know?
Yeah. Well, it could account for why, I mean, mental health issues are kind of through the roof right now this past year. And people are kind of losing their minds. All you got to do is turn on the internet and see people screaming at each other for no reason and stuff. I know people scream all the time, but I'm talking about like, I don't know. It's people are just kind of losing their minds. And I always end every show by saying, keep your head on a swivel and stay safe out there, because there is a lot of stuff coming out. We're seeing congressional hearings on UFOs now, and they're admitting that aliens are real. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that's being exposed, and this is all part of it. Now, you're leaps and bounds above a lot of the disclosure that people are just now realizing is real, like the UFOs, right?
Right.
You and I tonight are talking about something that's far beyond that. Okay, far beyond that. And so our audience is advanced.
I actually question this question here.
Okay.
What's called Joint Navy Space Fleet. Okay, that's what NATO has in space, and they basically go around and they colonize worlds. Centurion 5, which I've talked about extensively on different shows. I talk about it in my book, Time and Space Unlimited. They were the ones behind colonizing Centurion 5, and basically our military, the United States military, their secret space program is not like just theirs. Like, it's Joint Navy Space Fleet. Like, technically, like, it's not just one country. It's not just the United States. We're all working together, and it's called Joint Navy Space Fleet. So, yeah, just thought I would just point that out because they pointed, they're dead on with that. So thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Interesting information. I mean, there's a lot of people in the chat that are very knowledgeable on what we're talking about tonight, too. So, in a lot of movies. Okay. And I want to point out there's people talking about movies and all the references to some of the stuff that we're talking about tonight. I was thinking as we were talking about the airships and off planet colonies and civilizations, the movie WALL-E, and that's a cartoon for children. Okay. And it's all the people of Earth have had to evacuate. Okay. And the planet, there's an apocalypse of some sort. And WALL-E's there, cleaning up. He's a recycled robot. And Evie shows up. She's like a robot looking for plant life, looking for life on Earth. And she finds it. Well, she is going back to like the mothership, right? But there's all these like I don't know if it's like they're like airships floating into the atmosphere. It's either of Earth or some other planet. I don't remember. But all the people, I mean, it's just a bunch of humans that have just gotten extremely overweight and lethargic, and it is what it is. Okay, but that's a movie. It's showing what we're talking about tonight in that cartoon movie from 15, 20 years ago, something like that. Okay, so let's get into the data tonight. Okay, let's get into this data because there's a good bit of it. Okay, and so the target was this genetic engineering and cloning facility in the atmosphere of Venus. Okay, and the reason I did all this research on Venus and found all this, I wanted to present this to the audience, is like, this is not that far-fetched. Okay, this target is not far-fetched at all. After we know that they are planning to colonize the atmosphere of Venus. Okay, and I think they probably already have. All right, but that's just my opinion. This is for entertainment purposes only. Once again, I just want to say that for YouTube purposes. Okay, so I got into this target. I was seeing a bunch of colors. Okay, so some of my sensory data, Arkheim. I sent you this data, but I'm just going to go through all of this for the audience tonight. All the raw data is in my Patreon if you guys would like to become a member of my Patreon. Okay, so blue, green, devoted, overheard, loose, chaste, dry, dark green, round, flying, gliding, and sliding. That was my sensory data. Okay, so when I got into this target, I thought I was in some sort of like a public space. The entire thing, I was in a place with people in it. Okay, I was in something with people in it. I wrote down. I actually wrote down a diner because I was hearing a whole lot of like clanking going on and stuff, and it almost sounded like I was sitting in a diner. Okay, so that's the first thing that my analytic overlay. Okay, I actually wrote west 10. Some of my data was like, I was hearing small talk. I wrote down I, like EYE, kind of like maybe the Illuminati. I don't know. I just wrote down I or I. But I was hearing talking, small talk. I heard southwest or out west with some of my data. I actually wrote down flying saucer. Okay, so flying saucer disc. I wrote down sliders. Okay, now sliders, if I remember correctly, was a movie about
it was a
time
TV
travelers.
show. They'll go into other realities, actually, alternate realities.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting because I wrote down sliders. Okay, and I wrote down enlightened with some of my data. I wrote down coexist, parallel, and parallelogram. Okay, and so that was my first page of data. There's some more analytic overlay, but it may not make any sense, okay, to everybody. So, but I did pick up on what I thought to be like a flying saucer or a disc, sliders, which is, you know, living in an alternate reality, sliding into different realities, like what would be the secret space program, obviously, and what you did, and something parallel. Okay, and I did draw a sketch. It looks like a parallelogram, actually. Okay, and so my stage 4 data, I actually, the first thing I wrote down for my analytic overlay after the parallelogram and the parallel, I wrote down parallel reality. And then I wrote down edge of time. I was picking up something, some of my sensory data was like sharp, distinct, parallel. Again, I kept picking up on parallel reality. I wrote down side by side, transdimensional. I wrote transdimensional plane. And then I picked up on a vortex of some sort. I was picking up on a vortex. Like I'm seeing it because like I actually wrote it down because my hand started spinning. So like I just wrote it. I wrote like looks like that. It's just like a spinning vortex. Okay. And some of our hands doing it now.
Let's see. The surface of Venus. Is there a vortex there? Because I know that there's a vortex on the surface of Jupiter, and the vortex on the surface of Jupiter is actually a portal. So I'm wondering if it has something similar where there's a portal there. Maybe that's what you were viewing.
It could have been. Well, it was some sort of a vortex. There was just a lot of spinning. Okay, and then I was picking up on something that was cold and hot together. Cold and hot. I actually wrote cold, hot, and I wrote cold, heat. And then this is where Mel's hole steps in, because I wrote down ice cubes from Mel's hole, which is so wild. It's just so wild with this, okay? And because if anyone is familiar with Mel's hole, and I did a this is not actually Mel's hole. This is a picture similar to Mel's hole. I don't believe there are any pictures. Somebody put a picture of somebody. I think somebody added that refrigerator. I don't think that's real. That's like superimposed. But you know, this is for, you know, that's been altered. That's
for
what I'm saying.
Demonstration purposes.
Yes, but they used to. This hole was on this guy Mel's property. I think it was up in Washington. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Oh, I have it right here. Actually, it's on my Patreon. It says here. Let me pull this picture back up because I think this is important. Okay, and I'm going to be talking about a bucket of ice. Okay, and it looks like this, just regular ice. Okay, that was lowered down into Mel's hole. Okay, I'm sorry, I got a frog in my throat. It says, on February the 21st, 1997, a man identifying himself as Mel Waters appeared as a guest on Coast to Coast with Art Bell. He claimed he owned a rural property 9 miles west of Ellenburg, Washington, that contained a mysterious hole. The hole was at least 80,000 feet deep, but he'd measured using fishing line and a weight. He never hit the bottom of this hole even at 80,000 feet. That was like 15 miles. He also claimed a neighbor's dead dog had been found alive sometime after it was thrown into the hole. After a sheep was lowered into the hole, and I think there was another hole. They had 2 Mel's holes. It was pulled back out dead. After an on-site autopsy, a large tumor was removed, and it was reported to have, it was living. It jumped out of this sheep, and it had human eyes. It crawled out of the tumor, and it jumped back into the hole. According to Waters, the hole's magical properties prompted U.S. federal agents to seize the land and fund his relocation to Australia. I did remote view Mel's hole, and this was one that Barry gave me. And Tanya Braddock and I both remote viewed this. And we did a show on it. It's one of my biggest watch shows on my remote viewing playlist. It was wild. We both were picking up on a wormhole. Okay, like Mel's hole was some sort of a wormhole. Radiation was coming out of it, and it had something to do with time, space travel, space and time. It was actually like the way that I was drawing, what I was seeing was like what Barry called a Tipler cylinder. Okay, and but it did have to do with teleportation and time travel, and that is why it was seized. What my belief was that it had to do with some sort of time travel or teleportation. All right. And when somebody had put a bucket of ice, and this is what I saw in this target. Okay. This ice bucket, they lowered it down into Mel's hole. It came back up. Still cold, but it was hot. And this man took it to his home, to his cabin, and he's kept warm with that ice. He kept his entire cabin warm all winter with that ice. Or for an extended period.
It sounds like a very you ever watch Stranger Things in the Upside Down?
Yes.
Well, it's like ice that gives off heat. It sounds very like from the upside down kind of thing, doesn't it? You know what I mean? That's what it makes me think of.
Yes. It's really wild. Okay, and that was part of what was in this target. Okay, now the federal government, they say the military came, took it over, banished Mel to Australia to go have his wombat farm, and he ended up coming back, and he was calling into Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell, and that's how the story became popular. And he was talking about it. He ended up coming back to the U.S. and he wasn't supposed to, and he ended up beaten up, and his teeth were knocked out, and he lost everything. Yeah,
yeah. About all that, poor guy. That's terrible.
It's wild. Look up Mel's hole. That is one of the most fascinating stories that ever came off of the Art Bell show.
Like they found this weird hole and it defied all explanation, but I didn't know that they kicked him off his property and like ruined his life. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Well, he ended up going to like Arizona or somewhere and found another hole, and it had the same stuff. It had the same properties.
Like he's just got like a dowsing rod for weird vortex holes, like, or what? Like,
yeah, exactly. So this is where the target went. Okay, the target was like, I was picking up on cold heat, and whatever those ice cubes were, it had something to do with that. And so I wrote that down, and then I was picking up on I wrote down overlap and time space continuum. And then I felt like I was confused and floating. I literally wrote down like, and where I like my emotional impact was I was floating, and I wrote down overlap. Okay, some kind of overlap. Now we're into like parallel realities. In this target, we're into alternate realities, parallel realities, transdimensional, vortexes, and all sorts of weird stuff, right? But this kind of lines up with like what this target is, right? I mean, like, however you get there to it, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I think this is fascinating. Let me go to the third page. Okay. Some more analytic overlay I wrote down overlord, malignant, and malaligned. Okay, so whatever this target is, I was picking up on an overlord, malignant, and malaligned. I was feeling cold, tired, exhausted. I felt like I was in some sort of like a public space. Like there were a lot of people there, whatever this was, wherever I was at. But it was dark. I wrote dark, dirty, sleepy. I ended up getting like Harry Potter data too. So I was like picking up on magic. Okay. So Harry Potter magic, I wrote down missing time towards the end of the data. And I heard knows it all. Knows it all. I don't know what that. I just heard at the end of the target. I heard knows it all. But there's more data there. I don't know. I think it'd be best not to bring, because I was actually picking up on like a public space, and I got into like detail about the public space or whatever. But anyways, I think that pretty much summarizes the whole target right there. Okay. And when I got done with this target,
Fit in the public space data, actually, if you don't mind sharing it.
yeah. Well, it was I felt like it was almost like an outdoorsy feel, because there was a lot of vegetation around and stuff. And so I guess we can go down this rabbit hole. Okay.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was like almost like in a park or something. Okay. It was definitely like, I started off feeling like I was in I was hearing clanging and stuff. And I felt like it's like the noise, like if you were to shut your eyes sitting in a diner in the middle of lunch hour where everybody's eating and stuff. Like that's what I felt like I was sitting in. That's the beginning of the target. I felt like I was sitting in a diner. Towards the end, I felt like I was in like a public space where there was like a green space. Okay. And that's kind of where the target ended.
It makes sense. There'd be people living on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
They would need a self-contained. They'd need food. And so that's something you'll see on ships and different crafts and stuff like that. So that's not surprising to me.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting stuff, and I find and magic was included in this too. What kind of connection could there be with magic? I mean, my friend Caleb Jade comes in the chat sometimes, and he worked. I'm not sure if it was the Marines, but the U.S. military, and he actually practiced magic and the arcane, as he calls it, with our U.S. military.
Okay, that makes sense. Like stubble bean stuff, or like
I guess so. I don't know.
Because there's this guy Stubblebean that's famous for trying to make super soldiers. You want to make people who can walk through walls, and he used like psychic abilities and stuff like that in the military. In fact, he did. But then when he switched hands, basically, and I can actually remember this from like the Montauk thing. Like the new guy was like this super Christian guy, and he thought we were like demons. Like he didn't understand. Like so that's another kind of interesting thing is like the people in the military that do know about a lot of this stuff, some of the ones that are against it, they might not understand it all the way, but they just know that something weird's going on that's not right. You know what I mean? Like I said, they thought like a lot of the Montauk people were actually just demons or something like that, but it's more complicated than that.
Wow. Okay. That is
my thought anyway.
Yeah, very interesting. Yes. Hey, Bernard. Barry's in the chat. Hey, Barry Littleton.
Oh, Barry Littleton.
Yeah, Barry's the one that assigned me that target of Mel's Hole. And he says that tumor cell told the Basque through radio frequencies the ice could destroy our world. Oh my God, the ice. That ice is in this data. Thank you, Barry.
Okay, so what makes this makes a lot of sense.
Thank you, Barry.
This is my theory on that now. Not that I'm saying it's right or wrong. It's just a theory for entertainment purpose only, but maybe I'm right. Who knows? But what if, because I've talked about this with time travel stuff. If you've got something, if you change the timeline, a lot of times it'll be like remnants. Like, and I don't know if this is part of it or not, but like there have been people who talked about, hey, check it out. This is in my attic. It's Berenstein. See, it's Berenstein is real. I got this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if those are real or staged or not, but I do think there are cases where there's leftovers. And I remember in time travel projects that we would have to do things to get rid of some of the leftovers, like that, like the things that, because it could mess up time space and screw things up really bad. And I'm wondering if it's kind of like the same thing with this ice. It was from, because like I said, the upside down. It came from this weird hole that had a vortex in it, and it's ice that's hot, that's upside down. That's like reverse inverted, which they talk about the underworld, the upside down. Like, what if that's what it is? And that's why it could destroy our world, is because it doesn't belong here. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? And it's that kind of thing where it interrupts our time space, it interrupts our physics, the way things are supposed to operate, and that's very dangerous. It can create a very unstable environment that could potentially, like Barry's pointing out here, maybe destroy our world.
That ice had to have been radioactive. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if someone came and confiscated that ice or it melted his whole cabin eventually. I'm not laughing at that. I don't think it's funny, but I'm just saying I don't know. Something happened with that ice. I can't remember if it got confiscated or it destroyed his home.
I remember watching a documentary about the whole Mel's thing. I believe it did get confiscated, but I'm not 100 on that.
It probably did. It had to have been like just pure radiation, is what I would think. I don't know.
I was at my house. I'm kind of scared of that. But
preheat, yeah, preheat. Listen, these winters get cold. You know what I mean? So anything would help. But I don't know at what extent. I mean, when your teeth start falling out and your hair falls out, it's like maybe I should get rid of this ice heater over here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What if there's like radiation or something coming out of it? I don't know. I would be
yeah, big time. Big time. That's interesting that Barry says that. He said that the bass said that ice could destroy our world. And that tumor seal was one of my targets as well. Okay, so Barry, they gave us that tumor seal as a target, and I think Tanya made contact with the tumor seal, and it stayed in contact with her psychically for a week.
What's it? Can you explain that a little bit? Like refresh my memory on that.
It was these people, the guys were like, well, we got to find out what's down here in this hole. So let's send an animal down there. So unfortunately they put a sheep, a baby sheep or lamb or something, like a small sheep, in a cage, like a crate. And the sheep did not want to go. And it was, I hate to say this, but it was fighting not to go down there, and, but they lowered it down and they kept it down there for a little bit, and then they pulled it back up, and it was deceased. Okay, because they were trying to figure out, like, gauge like the radiation, I guess, and like what would happen if we put a live animal down there. They put a man down there, and they said that he lost his mind when they pulled him out. So I think they put the sheep down there first, and when they pulled it up, they did an autopsy on site, and they cut it open because its belly had gotten really big, and the belly was enlarged, and when they cut it open, a entity like a big slug or some kind of like slinky snake. I don't know what it was. They called it the tumor seal because it looked like a seal, like a SEAL that comes out of the ocean.
Telepathic.
And it was telepathic, and it had human eyes. It had big old human eyes.
Oh my gosh, that's so creepy.
Yeah. And
tumor seal. No offense to it. That's very uncanny for a human being to see. That's all.
It is. Well, okay, so here's the thing. It crawled out and it jumped back into the hole. It was like, peace out. Yeah. So, it was really odd. There's a whole lot of weird stuff that goes on with Mel's hole. So the fact that it came up here in this target is really interesting. And it was that hot ice. And Barry says that ice also fits the description of the glowing inner Earth sun. Whoa. Okay. Another connection there. So, yeah, it's magic. It's all magic.
Well, the thing is, it's just stuff that we can't explain. Like they even show in an episode of Star Trek how all the people are getting radiation poisoning from this stone because they don't know that it has radiation. Because I think if Data loses his memory and doesn't know what it is or something, they all start getting sick. And it's like, but, they don't understand it, so that's why that happens. But if they were to understand it, you know what I mean? They would get rid of it and that wouldn't happen. So it's not that it's magic, a lot of these things that we're talking about. It's just that our current science, the current tools we have, there's like, before a Geiger counter was invented, it was hard you couldn't really measure radiation. Well, now you can measure radiation. Now there's a scientific reality there that we can all agree upon. And it's like that with a lot of this phenomenon we're talking about. Science can prove it. Just science isn't there yet. It needs to catch up with the information.
Yes. Yeah. And Barry says that the inner Earth sun was called the smoky god, and it sounds like that ice too.
That makes sense. Yeah, and I've always thought about that too. That these inner Earth civilizations, there appears to be some sort of sun, some sort of light source that these civilizations have. So very interesting to think about.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so this is an interesting question too, because I talk a lot about all the missing people all over our country, all over North America, all over the world, but really in our national parks. That's my focus because I spend a lot of time in our national parks doing the cryptid field research and going camping. And that's an interesting question, Sharon. Thank you for that. Do you think that's where all the children go missing every year? Close to 1 million.
What, to like
Um,
the underworld or like?
well, I don't know. I was just going to ask you kind of as a general question. You are taken and put into these programs and
Yeah, I
stuff.
think.
I know there's a lot of children that never come back,
Well, for
right?
instance, well, for one thing, I can tell you,
Hmm.
there's a this information is for entertainment purposes only. I'll say, but whatever.
Yeah.
Um, there's a cult that exists here in the on Earth, a global satanic group that can pretty much get away with killing any child on Earth. They use children in sacrificial rituals, and they're completely protected by the government, by the FBI, by the CIA. They cover up for them. This has been documented with Roy Ames, with the Dutroux case in Belgium, with the Presidio incident. I could go on and on of cases where people literally got caught abusing children and doing satanic ritual abuse, and they got away with it. So I believe that many of these children are being sacrificed by this cult, who basically owns the government, owns the politicians, owns a lot of police institutions, stuff like that. They have them under their control in different ways through blackmail, stuff like that. It's not always that the people who are aiding and abetting are bad people. It's these people are scary, very dangerous. So it's like the people who let them get away with what they're getting away with. A lot of times it's not because they're morally bad people. It's because they're afraid of retaliating. So that is a big part of it. And there's also the fact that I think some of them do end up in secret space programs and things like that. But it's probably a lot of different reasons. I'm sure there are a few of them who literally they just disappear. They don't find them. Their bodies lie in the woods somewhere. I'm sure that's happened, but anyone who's investigated, like I'm sure you have, Jessica, there's something weird going on. It's more than people just not being found and disappearing. There's something odd going on, like where like people disappear basically right in front of people sometimes, like damn near right in front of their eyes. These people disappear. So I feel like there's something more going on than just people getting kidnapped by the satanic cult. I think there's all sorts of stuff. Like for instance, the Irish have and people have talked about getting sucked into fairy portals and stuff like that, into fairy world and things like that. I actually have an Irish friend who we've had conversations about. He's like, yeah, we really do believe in that stuff. We talk about it less these days, but it's still a part of our culture, and we still believe in it. And so it's not. There's all sorts of reasons why I think that people go missing and disappear. And yeah, I guess we got to be careful in those national forests, man. They're no joke.
Yeah, it's all over the place. It's not just in forest, of course, but my focus is the forest, and because that's where I spend a lot of time and my fellow researchers spend a lot of time. But there's, with some of these targets like the TRAPPIST-1, for instance, TRAPPIST-1's that system there, there was a lot of slavery going on there.
Yeah.
Okay, and I remember telling Barry, I was like, it looks like Earth in the future, but there's all this slavery going on.
Yeah,
That's slavery.
That's a
So
big part of these breakaway planets and breakaway society in general. Slavery is just par for the course, man. It really is. Like I'm telling you, like from what I recall, Venus has brothels. They've got relaxed laws on a lot of things that in other places would be illegal. It's like the Las Vegas of space. That's what I or the solar system, I should say, not all of space, not all of the galaxy or whatever, but it's like a Las Vegas type environment where people go there to do things that they normally can't do. What happens on Venus stays on Venus, kind of thing.
yeah. Yes, this is such an interesting topic tonight, and this is really interesting because I did Moondog Davis. Yes, we did just talk about invisibility suits too. So it's wild. We just went down the whole Glimmer Man Avenue last week, and last Saturday night, I guess, we talked about that. And the invisibility suits, there's so many different ways that people can be taken. Portals and stuff. And I do think that portals plays a role in some of these missing people as well. Probably getting grabbed and pulled through them for all we know. And
stories of people who shift through time
mm-hmm.
and then they shift back, right? There's been several stories of this, and some of these people, man, they have weird evidence, and their stories are really, really detailed. Well, how many times do you think it happens where someone slips into one of these time warps, and then they don't slip back out, and they're just stuck in whatever different time? So it's kind of like, I think there's a lot of different weird things that happen to people that account for people disappearing. But I think it's really important to bring up the satanic ritual abuse part, because according to the FBI, according to national statistics, they say there is no satanic ritual abuse. They say they've never murdered anyone. They've never committed any crime. That's ridiculous. It's time to stop. That makes me mad. And I just want people to understand that that's a huge part of it. Those people they kill people. They murder people. They film
for
stuff.
entertainment purposes only.
Yeah, for entertainment purposes only. It's so annoying. These people, it's so annoying to me, just for entertainment purposes only, that we have to say these things because we'll get censored. We can't talk about it. Meanwhile, these people are actually doing this heinous stuff, and they're getting away with it. You know what I mean? It's just it's kind of messed up that we have to dance around talking about what these evil people are doing. It's like exposing them is treated more terribly than what they actually do. Sorry, I know this might be a little dramatic, but it's just, I've experienced some things. I've been really hurt by these programs and these evil people and the stuff they do, and it's just, I wish that it was more like YouTube and different platforms were more accepting and no, it's okay for people to talk about this. But I understand you do have to say it for entertainment purposes. You got to be careful and not assert these things as absolute fact, because they will get you. And I don't want to get your channel have strikes or anything like that.
No, we're not. This is all for educational purposes and stuff. And we're just, we're just looking into it. Okay. We're just looking into all this, and not stating any of this as fact or anything. We're just looking into it. And I think it's important. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's okay to ask questions about stuff.
It is.
I think that's really what you do on your channel. You never go on your channel, it doesn't matter what target you have, and state anything as absolute unequivocal fact. You just say, hey, this is kind of weird, let's ask some questions about it. And I think that if our society comes to a point where it's looked down upon to just ask some questions, that's bad. It's very healthy for society and for the world to just ask questions, to just seriously, because if we don't ask questions and just accept everything at face value, what do they say? If you just assume, that makes an ass out of you and me. You can't just assume things. You got to ask questions sometimes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Well, I just have data. Okay. And I get these blind targets, and I don't know what they are. Arkheim, you gave me a set of 8 numbers, 2 sets of 4, so 8 numbers, and that's all I got. And I got all this data. I got all this data out of those numbers. I didn't know what this was. Okay, and but by the end of the target, I told you, I wrote you, I said that I'm getting a lot of parallel universe, parallel reality, alternate reality data, and I think that it lines up with the target.
So yeah, this is probably Venus alternate reality, not the current Venus, which is maybe hopeful, because like I said, this Venus, this version that I remember, was a bit of an unsavory place. Honestly, it's kind of if you were stuck there. Let's just say if you lived there and you weren't one of the really rich people that kind of built the place and ran the place, and you weren't a visitor and you're one of the people, if you're unless you were either visiting as a tourist or one of the wealthy people that kind of built the place or whatever, or owned the place, you are not happy there. It was not a good place to be. Let's put it that way. You're basically a slave.
Oh man. Well, okay. Well, I stress the missing person aspect side of all this, right? Because it is something that I feel like I've been on a mission to kind of explore where these people are all going missing, the children especially too. Okay, where are all these people going? And we have to, if we want to get real about this, we got to look into every angle of this. Okay, and Barry did give me the targets. He gave me multiple targets actually, but the main target was where are the missing people going in those clusters in our national parks? Where are they going?
Yeah.
From that missing 411, David Paulides research, right? But it's not just David Paulides. A lot of people have been doing research and keeping tabs on all the missing people out of our national park systems, right? But he gave me that target, and that was a tough one. That was really tough. And I was seeing that people. Okay, I told him that I felt like I was under the Vatican. That's what I told him when I got done with that. And I said it was someplace that was being guarded like Fort Knox, and it was deep underground. And in all my sketches, I was drawing like staircases going down and down, really, really far. And I said people are being kidnapped, taken, experimented on, and disposed of. Okay, that was my target, and it was rough. But that turned out that's where these people are going, right? But it's like, well, that would say, maybe the majority of people, maybe that's where they are going. Okay, the ones that have no explanation, but doesn't mean they're being experimented on underground here. Maybe they're being taken off planet. Maybe they're being used as slaves.
Let me just state something here.
Okay.
At least 10,000 children, do not state this lightly, passed away as a result of Project Phoenix 2. 10,000 children that disappeared, that will never be reunited with their parents, that no one knows what happened to them. No one knows that they were experimented on, tortured, sent through portals, whatever it was that happened to them. They could die in many different ways. That's just one project. And I do know for a fact that the Vatican is very much so involved in the trafficking of children, which the Franklin incident of Nebraska, which was also connected to Michael Aquino, of the head of the Psychological Operations Division of the military, was exposed. I mean, they've been exposed how many times for covering up for these priests, which unfortunately is a part of their religion, and not the Catholic religion, because the Catholic religion is perfectly fine, really, but the undertone religion, they're using it as a vehicle for mind control. That is what I'm saying. For entertainment purposes only, like, people want to believe me here, like, believe what you want, but from what I've seen, from what I've witnessed, like, look, we had to, one of the things we had to do during the Montauk project, this is the Montauk project, we were evil as hell. We had to tell one of the popes to calm down on his fucking human trafficking and the evil shit he was doing. The Montauk project. We had to tell the Pope to calm down. It was something to do with Hillary Clinton and all the kids in Haiti. I remember that we told him, look, you have to stop doing this, da. He wouldn't listen to us. He wasn't listening to us. So I remember we had to, threaten him, physically show up and physically threaten him and tell him, look, you gotta stop, you can't do this, and I remember, he said, one of the funniest things about it is he actually swore. He said holy shit or whatever. I can't remember what it was, and he wasn't speaking in English. He was speaking in, I think, Italian or whatever language was the Pope speaks or whatever. And we were like, how dare you swear in a church, or whatever. It was a joke to him because this guy's evil as hell. You know what I mean? He's trafficking kids and stuff like that. I remember the walking in terrible things these people do. The Catholic Church is evil, and it's I know I've got friends who are Catholic and stuff like that, and I hate talking this way. It's they're good people who are Catholics. I don't speak in absolutes like that, but I'm saying the institution is itself, it's freaking evil. You know what I mean? And even most Catholics will yeah, no, I agree with you. It's screwed up. They got it wrong. Even most Catholics will tell you that. You know what I mean? At least the ones that I've known. So,
man, I mean, this is a tough subject, you guys. It's a really tough subject.
We're talking about human cloning, which cloning is connected to human slavery. That's the thing that's going over everybody's head. And yeah, it's important to talk about this stuff. I've been victimized by this target I gave you. I woke up on a meat hook over and over again, dude. That really fucking happened to me. I want people to understand this. That's part of the reason why I signed this to use a target. I talk about this stuff a lot in my testimony, and people, I think people in this community at least respect it when you can be like, all right, you guys don't believe me, I'll have someone remote view it. And I do that with you. I use you because not only is it entertaining and it makes for a good show, but it just helps the information. It helps show that the information that I'm giving, I'm not just talking out of my behind. I really was a part of these projects. I really am a time traveler. I really sent to parallel realities and all sorts of crazy stuff. Like, people think it's wild, but it's like, if you look, the proof's there. You know, I was verified, I don't know if I've told you this, by Doris Neely. Like, the Montauk Roundtable for Veterans Day 2 years ago, she was there. She looked at me right in the face, says, I've seen your files. I put them into a computer. You're part of the Black Project. So not only that, I met one of your clones. He was a nice guy.
Wow.
Doris, you can look her up. She sued the most of what you find about her. She sued the CIA because she got fired, and she said it was because she was an African American woman and it was for discrimination. They say it's because she was leaking intel, which, judging by the fact that she went on a show, I mean, she might just not care anymore. Who knows what it was? She might have been being discriminated against, or she might have been leaking intel. Who knows? But because of that, she's like, it's kind of easy. Like, a lot of these people, it's harder to find their public record. But that was a public event that occurred, and it was kind of in the media. So you find that it's usually what you find about her if you look up Doris Neely, is the fact that she was part of this lawsuit against the CIA after they fired her. So, but it actually is just proof of the fact that she was the like a clerk, and she was basically taking packets of information, paper information, and making it digital, putting it into a computer. And she told me she's seen my files. And not only that, get this, less than a week later, her house burned down.
Oh, man.
Yeah. That's like, that all happened, man. Like, so, and for me, like, that was 2 years ago. I was kind of more new to this. It still blows my mind that wow. She's a real nice lady. It's just like, it's kind of wild, like, that she knows about all this crazy stuff. She's been exposed to a lot of things, and it just makes you realize, because she's a very normal lady, like the kind of normal lady, like you show up at her house, oh, you want some cookies, darling, or whatever. You can tell you, normal lady. And meanwhile, this lady's like, yeah, I know about clones and time travel and stuff. It's like, we walk among people like this every day. And that's one thing that I pointed out with my Venus show with you, is like, that building in Malibu, like, people walk in and out of that building every day, and like, people have no clue that some of these people just got back from Venus. Like, you know, there's people that are walking around us all the time that know about this hidden world that's right underneath their nose. And that's what we're talking about here on here. It's absolutely fascinating. It's like, we don't have to pretend none of this stuff is real. You know what I mean? We gotta talk about it. We gotta ask questions. Maybe we'll get it wrong every once in a while, but the only way to find out the truth is to ask questions about everything, you know, and keep an open mind.
Question everything. And with that show, I do remember we talked about the stars, the nautical stars that are located in the foyers, the front, in front of all the, you know, like the I'm just going to say CIA.
Yeah, the CIA
building,
for the
right?
CIA. It's in front of one of the Disney castles, at the Cinderella Disney Castle at Disney World.
Hotels.
Hotels. Yeah, and it's just a symbol that means, like, hey, there's portals here. How many arms is on the nautical star is how many places it goes to. Colors mean things. I always tell people, I don't remember why, but if you ever go into a bathroom that is an orange floor, painted orange, leave. Walk out. Use the bathroom somewhere else. Can't remember why. Like, but I just remember that, like, colors mean things. Like the carpet scheme. Like, if you go to a hotel, like, you're just looking around, you're like, oh, you're not realizing that, like, no, the carpet is relaying a message to people who know things. The patterns on the walls and the rooms and stuff like that. There's secret symbolism all over the place that is telling people, you can expect this here, you can expect this here. Oh, you see that? That means this is the password to say to the clerk. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's all sorts of stuff. Like, oh
my gosh. Hey, that's good to know, though. It's good to know. As a parent, especially too, you know, my kid's getting big now. And so he wants to go in the bathroom by himself and stuff. And I'm just like, I'm not ready for all that. Cause he's still a kid and you just don't know what's going to happen. And the floor could open up in a bathroom and, you know, he'd be gone in a second. I had too many horror stories and things like that. But Cat Chaser, thank you for that super sticker. I wanted to thank you for your support. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's just sad because it's like even if we weren't talking about all this craziness, just even on surface level, there's just so many creeps out there these days. Like it
gosh,
seems
there
like
are.
is it just me? Because I'm younger than you. Has this problem gotten worse with the creeps? There's more creeps now, right? Like, is that just me? There's more creepy people like doing creepy stuff, like preying on children and stuff like that. Is that more of a problem now? It seems like it is.
Man, you know what? It's always been that way, but I think it's always been that way. I think there's always been a bunch of creeps around, and
We're just
I,
realizing it because
I
the
just think we're just realizing it. I think that it was always in our faces and we didn't see it. For
yeah,
whatever reason, I think we see it more now because when I was a kid, I remember when it was like Adam Walsh, I think that was his name. It was like the guy from who started doing those TV
America.
shows about America's Most Wanted. His son got kidnapped out of like a Kmart or something, and they found him. He had been I don't know the whole story, but he was decapitated and Adam Walsh, I think was his name, right? And
Yeah. That guy.
I remember that.
I spent many entertaining nights watching that with my family. I mean, I remember that show coming on TV when I was young.
America's Most Wanted.
Yeah,
That's a good show.
it was messed up some of the stuff, but
Yeah.
it was an entertaining show to watch, and it shed the light on got a lot of bad guys caught because everybody watched that. So that's
Yeah.
positive came out of it at least.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people saying, yeah, there's some people saying that it has gotten worse. It probably has gotten worse. I don't know. The human trafficking. See, I actually, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I worked as an executive director of a state agency and for women. And it was in downtown Atlanta. I worked in government. And we, whew, I guess I can talk about this. I worked on committees on human trafficking here in Georgia. Okay, and I did some work with a group called Street Grace, and I was unaware of I was aware of the sex trafficking in Atlanta and in Georgia, and I knew it because we had so many strip clubs and stuff. I know this is like not this is not PG so much. I want to try to keep it PG, but I knew it was a second only to Las Vegas. Let's just put it that way. I knew that. Um, but I didn't know that, I didn't realize that like child trafficking was a thing in Atlanta and it was horrible. And I had to go sit in and meet with parents and stuff who had children that were missing. Everything just started like unraveling in front of me. Like my whole reality got rocked when I started when I started learning about all this in Georgia and in Atlanta, especially, but all over Georgia. That's we cover Georgia, you know.
Mhm.
And so, that was a really rough time of learning all that, but it was so important to get it out to the public and to get out the information to our legislators so they could start changing the laws and stuff because it was so underground for so long. It had always been there, but it was just underground. And that's around the time it was like the early 2000s is when I was in the thick of it doing all that. Okay, I'm fully aware of the trafficking and stuff. That was part of my job. I was learning about it, informing our legislators about it, and trying to help them write laws to try to stop it. Okay, and so yeah. Anyways, I do have history there. Okay, with all that, but now it's just we're talking about this on like an universal level now too. It's like this is wild. It's just wild.
It,
It's like where does this end?
and it's just sad, it's just like slavery is a huge part of human existence. In the United States, we always think of like the Civil War. We think of like segregation, things like that. Like how we used to enslave or white people used to enslave African Americans or whatever in the United States, and we think, well, we got over that. How great, slavery's over. Hallelujah, African Americans are equal citizens now. We've had one as a president and everything, so
Mhm.
slavery's gone. But that's kind of an illusion, unfortunately. Like, there's actually more slavery now than before the Civil War. There's literally more slavery now by a lot. And that's on like a surface level, like statistics, like that's fact. And that's not even counting the secret space program stuff and all the weirdness that comes along with all that. So it is a huge problem, and it's important that it's addressed. It's the most important problem of our century, of our lifetimes. It really is, because nothing is more important than like human sovereignty and people's right to have a good life. You know what I mean? And slavery takes that away from people.
Yeah, it does. It does. We all deserve just to be left alone, live our lives, and to be happy. And that's just not the case, unfortunately, for millions of people, adults and children, every year. And so, yeah, I think the big thing is shining light on this right now. Okay, if nothing else, we need to shine light on in the darkness. Okay, on the darkness, and that's what we're doing right here today, Arkheim. And Boo the Beagle, thank you for that gas money. I could always use gas money. Thank you so much. You're the best. And Boo, you support me big time in my shop, so I want to thank you for that too. Thank you very much. But yeah, Arkheim, I applaud you for exploring these topics with me and giving me targets like this, because I think it's very important that we talk about this. And I started off the show today. I was like, I know this may sound a little crazy, y'all, but just hear us out tonight. Okay, hear us out.
Yeah,
because there's some dots to
you gotta
connect.
be open-minded. I gave you a blind target, and I think you got a pretty open-minded audience. So I think people will like the show.
We totally do. We have a very open-minded audience. We really do. And yes. Oh yeah. We also, I see people are also mentioning all the missing children and stuff. And
That's been used as the legal the migration and stuff, the detention centers. They've been caught sex trafficking and abuse scandals and all sorts of things. It's all over the place.
Really sad. Yeah. Let me okay, how about we go back before we go tonight? Let's go back to some of these questions that I had in the beginning of the show, because I don't want to. I said I'd go back to them.
That's really good. The guy asked, one of your guys asked how similar, because we're talking about the Upside Down, how similar Stranger Things was to the Montauk project.
Good question.
And he brought it on the screen, but I wasn't able to answer it. But I just want to say that it's way different, but inspired by it. It doesn't show the torture as bad, not nearly as bad, or the most traumatic parts, and it doesn't show the time travel or going to other planets. But a lot of it's true and a lot of it's accurate, and they were going to call it the Montauk Project, and they changed the name. So there it is. I just wanted to address that there are some similarities, and there's some truth, but it's also totally different. Great show though. I really think that Stranger Things is definitely really entertaining to watch and a good show, and it did trigger some feelings and memories, certain scenes with 11 and stuff like that, where she's being experimented on, the way she was treated, and yeah, so it's based on real life, and hits a spot close to home. But yeah, plant medicine research. That's a perfect.
Fire water by design. Thank you so much. That's so sweet. Plant medicine research. Okay, that'll go into the research fund of some sort. I promise. Okay. Thank you so much. That's so sweet. Yes. Okay. Well, let me scroll back up to the very beginning, because we had a couple of questions. The Andromedan was asking, what do you think of Valiant Thor? Because we had mentioned Valiant Thor.
Isn't he from Venus, right?
From Venus, yeah. You said it's from Venus.
Real. I don't have any direct experience with them that I recall. Maybe I do that I don't remember, but for now, nothing that I recall. But 100% believe he's real. Too many reputable people have talked about him. Margie K would be a good example. I trust a lot of her. She has great information, and I really like Margie K. But yeah, I totally believe he's real, and there's pictures of him and everything. Pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah. He was a Venusian, okay, just like those other people that were. They look like humans. They're actually good-looking humans too. Okay, good-looking, pretty humans. Blonde hair, blue eyes, I think, or at least blonde hair. I'm pretty sure, from what I can remember. There's pictures of them online, though. You guys can find them online. Okay, Sue, what's up? Sue is asking, did Arkheim travel through stargates and or sea gates? Now, you did mention you've been through Stargate. What about, have you been through Stargates? You have, right?
Yeah.
What about Seagates?
That'd just be a Stargate in the sea, right?
The ocean, I guess. I don't know.
I want to remember the Stargates. There's a big one in Los Angeles. There's one in Malibu. There's more than one in Malibu, I think, actually. Some of them are natural. Some of the Stargates, that there are Stargates on Earth that are really old and natural. Some of them that maybe broke and they figured out how to turn them on again, or that they just kept on and they kept secret. But yeah, they're just real. There's some on the moon. There's yeah, and they're basically like a doorway, and like it almost looks like almost like a blue liquid, but when you walk through to the other side, like you're there. And there's different kinds too. They're not all exactly the same. Some of them, it literally looks like a door. It opens up, turns on, and you see the other side, and it's like, it's the place you're gonna go. It's crazy. So they're not all the same, but I've seen Stargates, yeah.
Awesome. We got another super sticker. Thank you.
Yeah.
KKD2883. Thank you. Truth must be told. Thank you, Jessica and Barry. Love to laugh. And Arkheim and other guests not present. Love you all. Thank you. We love you too. Thank you so much for that. That's very sweet of you. Very kind. Okay, we have a question from Kent. Kent was actually asking, have you had an encounter with Marduk or Marduk? I think it's Marduk, right?
Yeah, it's very complicated.
Okay.
Basically, I've connected to him through my ancient past, and Marduk is the one who we had disagreements over how to treat the humans, and because of that, he decided that I betrayed him. Basically, there was what was called the Great Betrayal, where my people, who were bird people, decided to go against the will of Marduk's people and side with humanity in the fact that they have sovereignty and that they are not servants because they were asserting their sovereignty. So basically, Marduk felt betrayed because my people, and I was a big part of it, betrayed the ethos that human beings were a tool to build our mutual empire. Because my people and his people, my bird people, were basically like a sister species. We worshipped Phoenix, they worshipped dragons. Our religions became one, our cultures became one, but it was when they started speaking with the Zahami, which were humanoids, that were very instrumental in creating humanity. Once they created humanity, that was when all hell broke loose slowly. It didn't happen overnight, but slowly. It was said by many different species across the galaxy that creating humanity would be a mistake, and indeed there it was. It is a mistake that cannot be undone, but untold chaos and hell has ensued since the human race has been created. Has created quite an undue amount of problems. However, thankfully, through time travel and things like that, and many things with your military, you're trying to fix these problems. But to answer your question, Marduk felt betrayed by Arkheim and enslaved Arkheim, and Arkheim was even put into the Montauk project, Project Phoenix 2, which was not fun, by the way, through Marduk. Marduk was the one who offered the project. Arkheim sold his soul to him. Then they leased Arkheim's soul from Marduk. So Marduk was the one who actually owned the soul, technically, of Arkheim, and Montauk, Project Phoenix 2, was only leasing from Marduk. Marduk is a Time Lord that is hugely responsible for much of the history of Earth. And of course, you may have read about him in the Sumerian tablets and many other things that speak of his exploits and the things that he has done to mankind. So that is my experience with Marduk. It is quite ancient. It goes to past lives, and I hope that makes sense and that you can understand that. I know that it's a very overcomplicated and long-winded response, but there was no way to give a simple answer to that.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that answer. We believe it. Now, am I speaking to Arkheim still, or
No, my name is Arthur.
Arthur? I've taught with Arthur before, I believe. Okay. Well, thank you for that answer. We appreciate that very much. I have some more questions. Would you like to answer these?
Sure, I'm back.
Okay, you're back. Okay, Arkheim's here. Okay. Thank you for that answer. That was, I could tell you were definitely channeling there, and that was one of your altars. So thank you. Very good answer, by the way. Okay, so this is a question from Andrew. Are most of your experiences in the astral, in dream time, or are they in the physical? Could you elaborate a bit about the experience when you have your experiences?
I am very active in astral, and I don't remember most of it. The astral is extremely important. The astral is pretty much just as real as this reality. We just have a really poor understanding of it. Which even here, as I'm speaking to you now in my 3D like awake form, like I get an amnesia every time I wake up. But I get a lot of reports from a lot of different people across the world of me coming to them in their dreams and doing really wild stuff, like teaching them things, helping them, like it's normally positive. In fact, as far as like when people see me in their dreams and dream stuff, it's always positive. I haven't heard anything negative yet, so that's good. Like I'd suck when people are like, "Yeah, you were a dick, man." That would be sad, but no, I show up in people's dreams, and I guess I help them. And there's even been situations where people that don't know me find me on the internet and be like, "Hey, man, I've been seeing you in my dreams, and then I found you on the internet, and you're talking about all the secret space program stuff." So I'm very busy in the astral. And Dan Winters, I don't even know who that guy is, but he's very interesting. He's a French guy. He knows a lot about the Montauk project. He's done a lot of research. And I've learned some things from him. I've been on a show a few times. But basically, I guess a big thing that the Montauk project was doing, according to him and his research, which I believe, this isn't from my memories, but I believe it was his testimony. I'm guessing I probably did do this kind of stuff. He said a lot of the work was actually in the astral realm. So like a lot of the Montauk project, like we're actually doing stuff in the dream world. And people just don't. And I think someone was even saying in your comments earlier that Elon Musk does stuff in the dream world. I don't know if that's true or not, but that would make sense. Like the dream world is kind of like real. And also, when you go to sleep, it's access to your alternate lives if you have alternate lives. You can kind of pass around back and forth. Think of your alternate lives as little islands. And when you go to sleep, all of a sudden you've created a sea that connects the different islands, and you can go across and go to the different realities. I really do believe that. I think that when you're dreaming, it's just like it's a conduit, it's a portal to all sorts of different places, whether it's just the astral or whatever. And like even when you're just dreaming and it's just your mind and you're just thinking and it's just your psychology, that's just you hanging out in your astral space in your mind. It's a physical space. You might just be in your mind, but there's also the astral realm beyond that. So it's not just like when we're sleeping, it's not just us hallucinating and being alone. Like it's so much more complicated than that. So sorry, long-winded answer, I know, but
No, that's a great answer. Okay, Sue has a question and wants to know if you believe in the firmament or the solar system model. So do you believe in flat Earth or do you believe in globe? What do you think?
I've seen the planets from I've seen Earth from space, and I know it's not flat, and I don't believe in the firmament. Yeah, so that's that quick answer to that earlier.
Okay. All right, we got one last one, unless there's some new questions up. These are just the ones that I caught here. Sovereign Cosmic Wildman, what's up? He says that you had brought up the jump room Stargate at Malibu City Hall. Did he realize that the recent Malibu Dew fire?
I did not.
City Hall. God.
No. Did it burn down?
He's put it in there a couple of times. Sovereign has definitely reiterated this a couple of times in the chat. I've seen it. Said that it actually burned. So we'll have to look that up. I don't know. I have to look it up after the show. But yeah, I think that's most of my Oh, and Cat Chaser wants to know what's up. Do you know? And a couple of people have asked, do you know anything about these drones and the orbs?
This recently, December 10th. Holy crap!
Oh, are you looking it up?
Yeah, sorry, I just had to look it up.
Okay, tell the audience what you just looked up. What does it say?
Well, it's not saying about the city center yet, but one of the council members of the city council, his house burned, and I'm just looking at this picture of it. It's like bad, dude. And yeah, so I totally believe that it's very likely it burned down. That's crazy. Um, the drones over New Jersey. So I'll tell you guys what I think about that. That's important, right? I mean, everybody's talking about it. Why not? And again, never like to claim that I know everything and that I'm right, but this is what I think. Okay?
That's all we want.
Yeah. I'm really into the Far Side Institute, which ironically enough, why is it that Georgia produces all the best remote viewers? They're also from Georgia.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
We do have some good ones. My whole team's in Georgia. Yeah.
So Georgia's where all the remote viewers are. It's like, if people want to become like actors, they go to Hollywood. If they want to become like musicians, they go to Nashville. If you want to become a remote viewer, you go to Georgia. I don't know. But anyway, they were saying that I pay attention to them, and you know how it is in this community, in the truther or disclosure, conspiracy, UFO, whatever. Us weirdos, right? There's a lot of people who make predictions all the time. Oh, this event's gonna occur. And half the time, 99% of the time, nothing happens. Their predictions fall short. And then 3 weeks later, they're like making some new prediction. Everyone's like, oh, what if it happens? But with Farsight, who, by the way, I don't think I've been following them for 3 years, and I don't think I've ever really watched them make predictions. I think they kind of like to stray away from that. But they were like, hey, these ET want you to know, like, they're good ones. And they told us to tell you, they want you to know they're going to show up soon. They said, 3 days, a week's tops. They're going to show up or whatever. And then sure enough, like, I saw this in real time. They start in New Jersey UFOs, and here in Oregon, it's on the news that they're seeing the spaceships, and they're running into them in the airplanes and stuff like that by Eugene and stuff like that. And they started showing up all over the place. And what they're saying, what the Far Side Institute is saying, which, I mean, hey, man, they said it was going to happen and it did. They're saying these are good guys. They're tired of the government lying to us. They're tired of all the BS going on. They want us to know what's going on. They want to help us. They're positive. But there's pushback going on from our own military. So with the weird fog, right? Like, there's a weird fog right now that, like, and people think it's the aliens spraying it, and they're like, oh no, some sort of invasion's happening. I think that's us. Like, or not us, but the bad military, the nefarious, the satanic guys, the bad guys in the military, the black hats. Was that what you call them, the black hats?
I guess so.
Yeah. Like, I think
the villains,
the bad military. And like I said, I'm not painting them all with the same brush. I know there are people in the military that know about this stuff and want to do something about it, but security clearances are a powerful thing that are hard to go up against. Like, but yeah, that's what I think it is. And I'm glad that people are interested. They find the information interesting. And, guys, I've seen some crazy shit, and I would be amiss. Like, I would literally be a bad person to not at least try to go on the internet and tell people about it. Because I know how it used to be before I remembered this stuff. Like, I used to love watching videos like this. I want to know the truth. And what's wild, and maybe this is a little bit of advice that I can give to people, is sometimes the truth is inside you. That's what I found out about me. Like, I was always watching all these videos. Like, a lot of y'all out there, you probably got past lives on other planets where you did crazy stuff, and maybe you were in these programs and stuff too. We all got a little piece of the story. That's what I learned.
Yeah, the truth is within us. I'm always telling, especially my hunt club, my exclusive membership over here on my YouTube channel. I'm always telling them to go with your gut. Always listen to the answers are all within all of us. Okay, they're within you. You just gotta quiet your mind. Okay, and you don't have to look outside. We don't have to look outside ourselves for any of these answers. Okay, just listen to yourself. That's why I got to keep a healthy gut, y'all. Healthy gut. It's for real.
Yeah, because your gut is connected to your, like, when they say, "Oh, my gut feeling says this."
Third eye.
Yeah, it's all connected, isn't that wild?
It is. That's part of our remote viewing training actually is maintaining, a good health and a healthy gut. Yeah.
What? You
Taking
got
your vitamins.
you got to send pointers on this. Kombucha part of it. What is it? Good yogurt.
Yeah.
Good diet.
Yeah. You know what? Number one is a water filter that takes out the fluoride. Do
Oh,
that first. That's
they
good.
don't fluoridate the water here, but there's probably
Yeah.
other stuff in the water because just it's probably good to have a water filter either way. But
Yeah.
yeah, Portland actually doesn't have a fluoridated water supply. Weirdly enough, look it up.
Yeah. I saw Joe Monk in here. He was like, Jessica, you want to ask him about Bigfoot. I can't find the comment now. What are your thoughts on Bigfoot, Arkeem?
My thoughts. I think that Bigfoot is I kind of think that they're just living at a little bit of a different frequency than us on the same planet, and I think that they care about us, and I think there's a lot of them across, so I don't think they're probably not all the same. Some of them probably just think we're dicks and probably want nothing to do with us, but it seems like most of the ones that interact with us care about us, and I just think they're in a different frequency. I think they're totally real. Like I think they're totally real, and I think that they're just like fairies and stuff like that. They exist in a slightly different frequency. Like we're in 440. They're trying to bring us to like 440, but naturally we're in 432. And I think that's what it is like we're still kind of stuck in between sometimes. That's a really rudimentary, oversimplified way of explaining it. That's not very scientific, but that's kind of what I think. Is just like Earth is like a lot of different people have talked about it. Like one of the reasons why Earth is so important is because there's all these different vortexes, different frequencies, and it's like a timeline generator, and like just like different. There's just so much going on here. So, I just think that that's definitely a part of it.
For sure. I mean, a lot of us think they could be interdimensional and stuff. And we've got Bear County Bigfoot's own Rod Nichols up in here tonight. What's up, Rod? Thank you for being here. He's a fellow Bigfooter as well. And I know Joe Monk's up in here. And yes, it was a Bigfoot question for the win. I saw that. So, yeah.
Yeah, by the way,
Bigfoot question.
I was trying to do an interview with, we'll probably do an adventure in the future. I wanted to do a roundtable on Bigfoot on my channel with you, Long Island Bigfoot, and Christopher Jacobs, because you guys are like the Bigfoot people that I know that are all really into Bigfoot. And I think it's important. I think people need to learn more about it. I think that, people take it seriously for a reason. You know what I mean? It's not, there's not all these legends and people talking about it, and it's a huge part of our pop culture because it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Yeah. It exists. It's just something more complicated than black and white and simple. And it's like the comment Bigfoot is multidimensional. That's what I think. That's what I think, and that's what people kind of flies over their head. It's like, okay, if they're real, then why am I not going in the forest and finding a whole village of them? They got a Bigfoot Starbucks and a Bigfoot, you know what I mean? Like Bigfoot McDonald's or whatever. It's like people think in oversimplified terms. Like they're multidimensional. They're obviously very spiritual, very advanced beings. It's like we think so simple. Like we have the ability organically to like teleport, move around, travel through frequencies and stuff like that. Humans, if they can develop them. But we're like, oh, but my cell phone though. I put on, you know what I mean? Like we think this is such a great achievement, but meanwhile, like Bigfoots are like teleporting and like walking into different realities and stuff like that. Like they're on a whole nother level where they don't need technology to assist them. They got organic technology. They're the technology. We call it magic, but really it's just organic technology. It's just using their, you know what I mean? Like I know. But it's also, you can explain it. It's technology, organic technology.
Yes, I just was about to quote one of my favorite movies. They call me the Magic Man. Now you see me? Now you don't. Okay.
What movie is that?
Some people will get that. Okay. Talladega Nights. It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh my gosh, that movie is hilarious.
I'm the Magic Man.
I didn't get that. I love that movie.
Now you don't. Yeah, so yes, I love it. Look, we like to have fun here too, y'all. We talk about some dense subjects, and you gotta break it up with a little fun, especially towards the end. And yeah, this is wonderful. We have a wonderful chat going tonight. We've had the most amazing moderators and chat. Great questions tonight. Yes, Ricky Bobby, y'all. Ricky Bobby. I want to go fast. If you ain't first, you're
Have you
last.
made,
And
by the way, have you made Karen Bigfoot shirts yet? Because I'm telling you, if you make those,
no, not
they'll
yet.
fly off the shelves. Like
They're coming. They're
them.
coming. Yes, everything's coming. I was actually talking to my son today. We were talking about all the different ideas that we have. I just haven't had the funding to do all this yet.
Yeah,
So it's all about the funding, really. But we're working on it. It's growing every day. So
just that's
yeah.
that'd be iconic fashion right there.
Oh my gosh, Karen Bigfoot. I mean, I'm not opposed to doing like Ricky Bobby Bigfoot next and stuff. I mean, Carl, we're listen, the sky's the limit. I am super creative and I got a lot of ideas. So yeah, we just need to get the Cryptid Huntress line out. Okay. And some t-shirts and hats. I can promise you there's probably gonna be some race car checkered flags on there and some Karen haircuts. Yes. I do live in the South. I used to race cars. I used to race. Listen, I actually raced at Charlotte Motor Speedway when I was a teenager. Okay, so I'm actually a race car driver. I used to be.
Wow,
Yes.
that's crazy.
Well, I've raced all over the South, but that was my big NASCAR track that I went to, and my grandfather owned 2 NASCAR teams back in the 50s and 60s. Okay,
Holy
so
cow.
I come from racing blood, baby.
Yeah. Blood.
So that's why I love Talladega Nights. Yeah.
That's so funny. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's classic.
Oh my God. Well, Arkheim, I loved it. I actually got to, for the audience, they probably may not know, you and I got to hang out for like a week together up in Montauk at camp.
Mhm.
We went to Camp Hero, but we were in a nice place in the Hamptons or something.
It was nice. Yeah, like
it was nice.
Irony. Everybody's like, "Are you sure you want to go to Montauk, Arkheim? Like, it's such a dark part of your past." Like that. I'm there, and we're like having lobster bisque and like hanging out on the beach and like, you know what I mean? Like it was a good time. That was the best way. And by the way, thank you,
Yeah.
Jessica, and everybody there. Long Island Bigfoot, if you're in the chat, I don't know if you're here, but a lot of the people that were there, they made that trip really special to me and helped me heal from that trauma from my past. To revisit there and have such a good time. I don't even know if you remember the night in the pool and how hard we were laughing.
Fun.
Great time.
We had fun. We hung out. We had a swimming pool. We got to go. I mean, even the morning of, we went to go see that portal opening for. You remember the fog?
Yeah,
that was wild.
Crazy.
Yes. We just had a really. I mean, I was actually a little concerned that it was going to be super traumatic for all of us to be there, but it ended up being one of the most memorable trips, and it was awesome. We had a really good time, and I was glad I got to.
You got to follow
your
gut. People were telling me, "Hey, you shouldn't go on this trip. It might be bad for you." And I followed my gut, like you're talking about. Gut said, "Go on the trip." Ended up being great. So always follow your gut, people.
Yeah. Follow your gut. Everybody, heal your gut. Keep your head on a swivel. Watch your back. Explore the unknown, and never stop learning, y'all. And question everything. Question everything. And speaking of, if you ain't first, you're last. There's Ricky Bobby himself, Mr. Long Island Bigfoot.
Yeah. Hey man, you and everybody who was there, you made this. The trip was great.
Yeah.
Like Long Island Bigfoot's a real one, man. I'm really glad to know him, and he got boots on the ground in Montauk. So if I ever go there and visit, I know he's around. I know Brian Minnick's around. There's good people over there.
Yes, amazing. We made friendships to last a lifetime for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Probably multiple lives. We've probably been friends before, actually.
Yeah, Brian ended up. I know you've been on. You've talked to George Norrie, but it was really cool that I saw Brian Minnick also got on there and was able to talk about Montauk is Strange. That's huge for us Montauk survivors. That's really important to us. He's doing a lot of really important work for all of us. We're all really proud of him.
Yeah. Me too. And I let him know. I actually messaged him while that George Norrie show was airing on YouTube. I sent Brian a message. So did Mike. And I made sure he knew that it was on there. And I told him how proud of him I was. He did a great interview. So it's because of people like him and like yourself, disclosure is happening. And that's important. It's important that we shine the light on all these dark places. And that's how we heal.
Yeah, and I want people to know too, like I talk about like a lot of negative things. It's because I believe in Like I'm not like saying, all right, come to this dark place, the world's evil. It's like, no, these people need to be held accountable, and they can be. All right, and the world, all you see all this beauty here in this chat, and like there's good people in the world all over the place. You want to know why these people hide? It's because they know that if the information was public, they wouldn't be able to get away with this shit. So that's why we have to keep doing what we're doing. It's not that we're being negative by exposing this information. It's the most positive thing we could possibly do. We're transmuting this darkness into light, and hopefully in the process, there's people who won't needlessly have to suffer in these programs like me or other people have had to. That's why we're doing this. Not because we're defeatist and because we believe the world's all a dark place. No, it's because we think we can do something about it. We are doing something about it. Just by talking about it, just by doing the show, asking the questions, talking about this stuff that, like, it might be kind of really hard to comprehend, but like to talk about it and get it out there, it helps it for when the dam does break, like at least some of the population was caught up to it and will help everybody else catch up with them. You know what I mean? And I think that's a good way to end it. Is like, I just want to let people know, like, I try to be positive. I don't want to seem like I'm like negative. Like, big part of my new 2025 ethos is, yes, we're exposing these people. We're going to expose the heck out of them with all the evidence that we were gathering on my YouTube and other places. But also, we're going to heal from the trauma. Like, you know what? People that hurt me in these programs, but they don't want to see me happy. People in these programs who suffered, they don't want to see us happy and thriving. So that's what we need to do. We need to be happy. We need to thrive. So that's like my new message that I'm kind of trying to say going into 2025 is like, yes, this stuff is all real. We need to address it. It's very dark, but hey, that doesn't mean we can't create a brighter, better world and a better future and a better timeline like people talk about. We can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're doing it. We are doing it.
We're doing it. We're doing it. We're having fun doing it too. I'm having a lot of fun.
Like, we have to, because like otherwise, like if you what do they say? Like do what you love and you don't have to work your day in your life or whatever. It's like this is hard work covering all this information, all the amount of people you have to communicate with, the thumbnails you got to make. It's fun, but it's a lot of work. But
it is a lot of work.
You wouldn't be able to do it if you didn't care about it. That's the thing. It's the love that goes into it. That's what makes the info shine. And that's what people want, Jessica. They want authentic people, and that's why you're so well. You're very authentic, which is good. It's needed in the world.
Well, thank you. I just like to quote Talladega Nights and stuff. You know, talk about chicken fingers and tater logs, Long Island Bigfoot. I know you're in here smirking. Okay. But yeah, Jessica Bobby. I saw that comment, Jessica Bobby. Oh my gosh, that would have been a great nickname for me back in the day. Arkheim, tell everybody where they can find you and your YouTube channel and about all the shows that you put out and stuff, and anything else you got.
I highly recommend buying my book. It helps support me, and I think it's a good book. I'm very proud of it. Time and Space Unlimited by Arkheim Ra. It's available on Amazon.com. It's pretty easy to find. And also my YouTube channel, Disclosure Now, which is usually, I don't think I'm shadow banned. I think if you look me up, you should be able to find it. And I have a Patreon, patreon.com/Arkheim Ra. It's only $5 for the first tier. And I talk a lot about the music industry and stuff on there. A lot of videos that are not on my YouTube that just don't want to go against community standards and stuff like that. And also I show the music, and a lot of times it'll flag you for copyright infringement. Patreon doesn't do that. So and a lot of stuff premieres earlier on there. And yeah, I've got my show with Brian on Tuesdays, Brian Singh. Which is just Disclosure Now, Full Disclosure Now. And then I do another thing, Virtual Temple Complex, which is with Nathan Sizik. And a lot of times Brian's there too. A lot of times Dan Armstrong's there too. It's always different every week, but basically, yeah, Tuesday and Wednesday usually. And I think we're doing it earlier now. I think we're going to do it at 3 p.m. my time, and that would be
6 my time.
6 your time, because I work at night now. So yeah. But yeah, so that's basically it. You can find me on my YouTube channel, and I'm around. Or also, you can email me at arkheimra@gmail.com if you're trying to get a hold of me.
Okay, wonderful. Arkheim, thank you so much for being here. This has been a very enjoyable show, and it's been, I mean, it's been tough, but it's been educational and it's been amazing. And I am just so proud of you for being able to talk about these things with my audience tonight, our audience tonight, and I hope that you will come back and we can do
Oh,
this again soon. Yeah.
I've got plenty more targets for you. Kat wants to come on your show. She's got a target for you that might be weird and might be like messed up, or it might be nothing. We don't know. It's kind of that's why I want to give you a target. Is because we're like, what's going on here? This seems weird. So I don't know. You have to talk to her about it. But we've definitely got
all your targets are weird. Just kidding.
yeah, they are all weird. I guess you're right. But no, I've
Hey,
got
maybe Robot Grandma. That was one of my all-time favorites.
yeah. Robot Grandma's iconic, dude. Honestly, the thumbnail you made for it, yeah.
I still have pins. I had pins made on that one. Yeah,
I've actually got the robot, not on this shirt right here, but I've got robot grandma on it.
Oh my God, it's time to shake and bake. That's right, shake and bake. Thank you, Eric. Thank you for being.
All right, well, you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you for being such an audience. Thank you for supporting everybody. Thank you in the chat. Thank you for supporting the Cryptid Huntress and what she does. We appreciate you. And yeah, like, thank you for being awesome, you guys. Have a good night.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Arkheim, so much. You guys, please come back and see me this weekend. First of all, I want to remind you guys, please go to Amazon and purchase Time and Space Unlimited by Arkheim Ra. Okay, you guys go support Arkheim that way, and also join his Patreon. It really does help. Every single membership helps, and really helps to get the. He's doing great work, you guys, and I am super honored that he came on the show tonight and that you gave us this great target. But please go to Disclosure Now on YouTube, put an exclamation point on there, and go support Arkheim. Just go subscribe, you guys. Come back and see me Saturday night. I have Tyler Howell coming on from Florida, Alabama, a Bigfoot field researcher, and it's going to be a fantastic show. I cannot wait. I want to thank everybody for all the super stickers tonight, all the support, all the questions that you guys put up here, and you name it. You guys are the best. I have the best chat and moderators on the internet. I do. And so you guys be safe out there. Keep your head on a swivel, and be sure to shake and bake. And remember, if you ain't first, you're last, Arkheim. All right. I love you guys. Y'all have a wonderful night. And we'll see y'all back here on Saturday. All right. Bye, y'all.